So,
Yeah.
people are going to start trickling in. But of course, as I always say, for the VOD people watching the VOD, Sandshrew, MR, how you guys doing? Happy Monday. For those of you unaware, howdy, Captain Venture, howdy, MR. For those of you unaware of, I think everybody knows, whoever's watching this probably right now is aware of Mr. Sledge. This is Mr. Do Your Research. This is Mr. Trash. This is Mr. What other catchphrase you have? You got a million catchphrases. The guy who markets the best. Oh yeah, and drop a salute emoji in the comments section, right? This is a guy who's making tremendous waves in the credit card community. A lot of us were there for his first video, and now he's at 600 with I think you have over 50,000 views now. I think you're doing pretty well, right? A little more. So that's pretty great. And so he's putting out a lot of good content on just his experience in the credit card game. This is a guy that has over 20 credit cards in a relatively short amount of time, and he's had a lot of experience with credit cards. It really needs no introduction. But with all that said, what's going on, Sledge?
What's going on, sir? What's going on?
You doing good today?
Doing excellent, man. Glad to be up here with you.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you being here and doing this with me and everybody. So I try to start these off a little bit different every now and again, so it's kind of personalized to each person. Now, I kind of wanted to start off with you because a lot of people don't really know about your background. You've done some Q&As, and we know the stuff that you do preach on your channel, and it's a lot of good stuff. But I actually wanted to start off by you going into your journey with credit cards and how you've told me on the side where it was kind of rough, and and even in your videos you've been in credit card debt, you had scores very low and maybe 400 or 500s, and you were able to break yourself out of that. And I think a lot of people would love to hear that and how you got to where you are now. So if you don't mind, yeah, go into your start with debt and all of that.
Oh yeah, I can definitely get into that. I started really early. Well, I won't say really early. Probably about the same as anybody else. 18, 19-year-old getting credit cards. I'm 50 years old right now, so excuse me if I don't remember how long ago. But
You're
I'm 50,
50?
man. 50 years old, man.
I did not think. I was like maybe 39,
Yeah.
40. Wow.
50 years old, man. Yeah.
Damn.
So I started off back in the day with a dealer's credit card, my very first credit card. I actually at the time didn't know one single person. Let me take that back. One of my friend's mother had a credit card. She was the only person that I actually knew who physically had a credit card. Of course, I knew credit cards. I knew what credit cards were. I just didn't know anyone who actually used them.
Yeah.
Right. So I used to frequent dealers in a certain mall that I used to go to when I lived in Cleveland. And the cashier just sold me on getting the dealer's credit card. You know how they do 10% off with the purchase, you get the credit card. I go ahead. I don't know what my credit score is. I don't know anything about. I'm not even thinking about a credit score. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I'm just applying for the card. I got the 10% off, but it just put something in my head like, okay, I can get credit cards. I go.
Yeah.
I get a Target credit card. Why I get a Target credit card? I don't know, because I know I can get credit cards now. Right. I get a Target credit card. I get a Best Buy credit card. I get a company. I don't know if HSBC is still around. I think Capital One bought their credit cards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But I got 2 HSBC credit cards. I had 2 Capital One credit cards. I had a Discover credit card. Before they would discover it, it was a black card with orange writing on it that just said Discover. Right?
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, this is back when Discover, you can actually get cash from Discover in a check. Like literally, they would send you checks and you can use them for as cash.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So everything sounds fine and dandy, but like I say, I don't know anything about credit cards. Right. I don't know anything about credit score. I don't know anything about credit scoring. Right.
Yeah.
I'm using credit cards not in the way I would use them now. I'm using credit cards in the exact opposite way of what I would tell someone to do now. I'm using their money as it not like it's my money. It's just extra money in my mind.
Right.
But at the time, I'm not thinking about 29% interest or whatever the interest were on those cards. So What do I do as a young kid with credit and no education on credit cards? I run them suckers up, right?
Oh no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I run them up. I mean, I think my highest credit limit at the time was $5,000, but most of them were around like 500,
Hmm.
$1,000, maybe 2,000. But I think most of them were somewhere around 500 and 1,000.
Hmm.
But when you start talking about 20% interest, when you start talking about paying minimum, the minimum amount on them,
Yeah.
$1,000 credit card can turn into a $2,000 credit card, you know,
Yeah.
but on the negative side,
Oh yeah.
right? So it gets to the point where now I'm not paying these cards. Debt collectors are calling me.
Wow.
I'm not answering my phone, right? I have cell phones. I'm like one of those early adopters to technology. I'm one of those guys, right? So I
Hmm.
have a cell phone way back then. They're calling my job. They're calling my house. They're calling my cell phones,
Wow.
right? I don't want to talk to these people, right? So it's like now I'm ignoring it. I don't want to look at bills. I don't want to do any of this, right?
Hmm.
So what ended up happening is pretty much most of them got discharged,
Hmm.
but not Target. Target waited maybe I'll say 2 years, and I get a subpoena from Target. Yeah, to go to
Wow.
court to handle this debt. Now I don't know what to think about this, right? And the worst about the situation is I could have paid them, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
I just did it, right? Like I just did it. So when I went to court, they have a lawyer there. I don't have a lawyer, just me, the judge, and whoever else that this company that they're representing is suing.
Hmm.
Right? We're
Right.
all there. The judge asked me that I want to talk to the lawyer before we had any proceeding. I
Hmm.
asked the lawyer, could we pay right then? He just agreed to it right then. But what I asked him was, would they take it off my credit and we'd be done there? He told me we could do it. I literally walked to an ATM that was inside of the courthouse.
Yeah.
Pulled out all the money I could get. I had money on me. He rolled up the contract. We exchanged the money right there, and I was done with it at that moment.
Wow.
The, the problem is, at that point, my credit score is like 300 and something, from thinking
Yeah.
everything that I had, right?
Jeez.
Because I
Yeah.
skipped a part. I skipped a part when I found out what my credit score was. It was around 760,
Hmm.
right? But all these charge offs, yeah, I went down to I think 324, something like that. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Because the way that they do it is you have a 30-day late, a 60-day late, a
Hmm.
90-day late. When it get to 120, they're going to discharge it.
Oh.
Right? They're either going to sue you or they're going to discharge it.
Wow.
Right. So once they discharged it, that's just it. And it just dropped your credit score. It's no 5 or 10 point thing here. We're talking about 40 points, 60 points, 80 points. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah. So I go from that. I don't touch credit cards for years, man. I don't touch credit cards for years. I'm talking about 10 years or so. I don't touch credit cards. I'm
I
just
couldn't
straight
imagine.
debit and right.
Hmm.
Like none of these other creditors are bothering me. So I'm not thinking about it.
Right.
And one day, I'm just like, you know what? Let me try again. And what do I do being me? I try for another Target card.
Of
The
course.
same people who the same people who sued me.
Right. Of
What do I
course.
get? I'm approved for this Target card.
Wow.
Right? So in my mind, I'm like, if these guys approve me, I can try for someone else. I'm afraid because the reason I tried for Target because I was afraid to try for any major banks,
Hmm.
but I do shop at Target. So
Right.
that's why I did go there, right? For the 5% off.
Hmm.
Uh, the crazy part about that is the card ended up closing because I didn't use it. Even after they gave me another chance, the
Wow.
card even eventually closed it because I didn't use it.
Jeez.
But same thing, Capital One. I had two Capital One cards when I started my credit journey the first time.
Yeah.
They also approved me again for the
Wow.
Platinum card and then the QuickSilver. Yeah, so Target, Discover, and Capital One. I got all of those cards again to start all over. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And you know, and you had it's funny because if you think in two worlds, you know, you were Sledge at this point when you got your all the other cards, but you had your Target card, which they ended up suing you because you had so much debt with them and they wanted to
Right.
pursue you for it. And then this other Sledge years later, who also had the same Target card, the same
Right.
corporation, that got canceled because he just never used it. So in one way, you used it im-
Too much.
completely,
Right.
all too much, and then not enough. What you know? Where was the what was the age difference in those two people?
Oh, the age difference. Man. Like I said, it was a long time.
Long
So when
time
I
ago.
got the second time, it probably was 10 years.
Okay,
Maybe 10 years. Yeah, probably like 10 years. But
gotcha,
with that, I still only stuck with the Target card for a long time. I didn't
gotcha.
touch any major banks. I was just afraid to touch. In my mind, I didn't think they would touch me.
Hmm.
Right. So I was a little bit afraid to even try any major bank before I tried with Capital One.
Yeah.
And I think when I tried with Capital One, my score was like 524. I know it's pretty low.
Oh
And
wow.
they approved me for the platinum card,
Hmm.
which was believe it or not, in 6 months, they gave me $1,000 to start. Within 6 months, they gave me an increase to $2,000.
Not bad.
But that was it for the
Hmm.
eternity of that card.
Same. Yeah, same. I think I got my Quicksilver at 1,000. They bumped it to 1,500, and yeah, 5 years later, nothing.
The thing with that Capital One did to me though,
Hmm.
because it was me not reading it, they wanted to upgrade it to a Quicksilver One. I
It's,
accepted it because I'm thinking it's an upgrade.
oh my god.
I don't realize there's a $49 annual fee on this card. I have a Quicksilver, right? So I have a
Yeah.
Quicksilver One and a
Yeah.
Quicksilver, both 1.5% cashback, right? One I'm paying a $49 annual fee on, right? So
They got you.
they got me. They got me. I paid the annual fee probably twice, maybe, and they wouldn't let me out of it, and I eventually canceled it. Even though that was the oldest card that I actually had, because it was the platinum at that
Wow.
time. As far as major banks, it was the oldest card that I had. But I
Mm,
still canceled it because it just was no benefit to me. I'm just paying them $49,
yeah.
basically. So,
That's the
um,
most useless card out there, yeah.
right, you're right. Because if you have a Quicksilver,
Yeah.
what sense does it have to have a Quicksilver one?
It's
Right.
craziness. It's
Yeah,
not yeah, that's nothing that anybody needs to have in their life. Maybe the CEO of Credit One, Richie, but we won't talk about him at this
yeah,
time.
well.
But you know, maybe he likes something like that. So for you know, so that's actually a great lesson for a lot of people. I come across a lot of people in the real estate world who, you know, they've damaged their credit over the years. Maybe they had some charge-offs. Um, maybe they you know, delinquent on some of their rent payments, etc. But now they want to, you know, come out of that and buy a home, but their score is, you know, kind of in the dumps. They're in the 500s, and they're like, well, you know, I'm not going to get approved for any credit card. Obviously, I have such a low score. I've had such bad reputation. Same as how you felt. But a lot of people don't realize, like, yeah, you can literally get, even just at the lowest point, a Capital One secured card, which is where I kind of show everyone, like, at least you have like a 99% chance of getting approved. I know there's some ways you can't, but put a deposit down and get approved. But even you didn't, you know, you got your Target credit card, no deposit, and they approve you. So I think that's a great lesson for a lot of people is, you know,
Yeah.
it's never too late.
Yeah, a lot of people. I also would recommend secured cards because if I had known better, I probably would have got a secured card beforehand before I got the Target card. But at that time, I really didn't know anything about secured cards. But it probably would have been my easiest way in instead of waiting to try to get the store card that I really didn't use.
Mm,
But the time that I did use it at first, I would buy a few things here and there. It did help raise my credit score.
yeah.
So I'm still thankful that I did get that Target card because if I didn't have it, I would probably still be in the 500s with those cards, or the age of credit would have increased eventually.
Yeah.
If they hadn't closed it, but if by me just getting that target card, it did really help me.
That's fantastic. And would you have advice for people? Do you think the advice would change for how someone could either get started in the credit game, like get a credit score initially, and or if they had a lot of a bad past already with credit cards, would you give the same advice to someone who's like either trying to start building or rebuild their credit?
Okay, now if they were trying to rebuild, I would definitely go to secure route.
Yeah.
I think the way that I did it, it works, but I think it's a longer process.
Hmm.
I think it's because you get a secure card, you're getting in with a major bank, and it's even though it's a secure card, it's just reported as a credit card.
Yeah.
Right? It's reported to everyone else as a credit card that you're paying on timely, and the most important thing is paying the bills and paying them on time.
All right.
Pay them and pay them on time. That's it. And I recommend that everybody get them early. But if you're not responsible, you know yourself, right? If no
Yeah.
one else knows you, you know yourself. If
Right.
you're not responsible, stay away from credit cards till you feel that you are. And I tell anybody that credit cards are not for everyone. If they
Yeah.
were, there wouldn't be what $1 trillion worth of debt in the United States with credit cards. So somewhere around there,
Yeah.
they're just not
Hmm.
for everyone.
Hmm.
As far as starting, if you can get somebody that puts you on as an authorized user, we talked about this before.
Yeah.
You can get someone to put you on as an authorized user, it is a big bonus. I put my daughter on when she was 13, my youngest son when he was 13. When my daughter started her journey, she has a Discover right now and an American Express Gold card. She started with a 765.
Hmm.
I was nowhere near this at that age, you
Yeah.
know. So I recommend that to any and everyone. If they have kids, they have nieces and nephews. But here's the big thing: don't give them the card. Don't give them the card.
Yeah.
Just give them the benefits of having that card for their
Hmm.
credit score or whatever.
Right.
My kids have, they do have my American Express Platinum card. They have that card for one reason. If they travel without me, they can get into airport lounges. That is
Hmm.
it. There's no other reason to use the card and they don't use them.
Hmm. And you have some interesting insights to authorized users that I kind of wasn't aware of. So well, at least why do you say you recommend? You said it to me personally, like, oh, I think you should just get them on the authorized user at 13, and then try to get them their personal credit card as soon as possible. Any reason for like that age? You think?
Well, 13 for most credit card issuers is the youngest age.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but even if you waited till later, it still wouldn't matter as much because they're still going to just get the age of the card.
Yeah.
It like so that doesn't really matter. I think that just doing it earlier is because now it's in your mind to talk to them about it.
Yeah.
So the earlier you coach them on it, the better they'll be. Well, they should be more responsive to it. Hopefully,
Hmm.
and getting the card early is just it just helps with their age of credit because there's no other way to increase your age of credit other than to have credit, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's the only thing on your credit profile that you can increase, or it only goes organically. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't falsify that.
Gotcha. And you would say as soon as they turn 18, then have them just apply for their first
Yeah,
personal card.
get get a discovery. No, get. I mean, you can use Capital One to get in. Get a
Yeah.
discovery. Get Capital One. Get a student card. The student card is a very good option for someone who's going to college or whatever. I definitely recommend those cards because they're a little bit more lenient with giving you student cards. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
Spencer Johnson actually told me about getting. He had I want to say it's the unlimited. I know it's a Chase card, but I'm pretty sure it was the unlimited. Yeah, student
mhm.
card. That's how he started his journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe he
Yeah.
did. Yeah, and then he kind of built from there, got the I guess the flex he might have gotten afterwards, and then yeah,
Right.
so on and
Yeah.
so forth. Huh. So it's interesting. You kind of advise some people to just kind of get started, go into Capital One, but I know, and a lot of us know, you have a
No,
bone to pick with Capital One.
I have a. I won't say. I mean, you know how I feel about Capital One,
Yeah,
but they are a good option for starting.
I agree. Yeah,
So I could only say so many bad things about them because they not only gave me a chance, they gave me a chance twice.
yeah.
Right? Even though I messed up with them, they gave me another chance. So even though I talk stuff about them, I still have to give them that. Yeah, but
Well, what do you?
they can't be trash.
Well, well,
I
that's
mean,
what I want to hear. Why
yeah.
do you think they're so trash? What are the what do they do to you?
Where do I start?
Yeah, right.
It all starts with the bucket. I mean, it's a commonly known thing.
Right.
If you come in, like say for instance myself, and the thing about it is, it's just it's no rhyme or reason it seems to be to put people in the bucket. You think I listen to some of these guys tell different stories about having upper mid 700 credit scores when they apply for Capital One cards, get it declined, or either being stuck with a $1,000, $500 credit limit and never being able to get out of it unless they get a different card.
Yeah.
Right? And to treat your customers like that, I mean, I've been on the phone with Capital One and I'm like, they're like, we need to use the card more. And I'm like, you're not giving me a reason to use it, right? Because if I have a better card, I just want to be able to move. I don't want anything else from you but to move from this card to another card, and I will use it. Right?
Yeah.
It's just no option with them. And even some people, they're using the card and they're still be stuck in the bucket. So I don't even know. Capital One's confusing to me. So
Yeah. I see DJ Bruce Wayne. He said, "Kick that bucket. Say no to Capital One with a $5 donation." Man, I appreciate you, Bruce Wayne, for pushing that.
for
Me and
sure,
Sledge will split that one. So
for sure,
we appreciate that,
kick that
man.
bucket.
Trying to honestly, like people have said, to me in private, they said, not just kicking the bucket, but we want Capital One to kick the bucket. Like we're trying to get them out. But but
I mean,
you
you
know,
think about even uh, a higher tier card such as the Venture X. I'm hearing people with credit scores of 800 still being declined. And then
yeah,
some people with 600 being accepted. It's
yeah,
just no rhyme or reason with Capital One cards. And that's kind of why just at this point, I still have my one QuickSilver card. It's no annual fee. I have Google One storage is $199 a month. That's what's on that card.
right.
So it stays open forever.
Hmm.
But other than that, I just stay away from Capital One cards at this point.
Yeah,
I just don't want to risk the three hard pulls for too much of an if. And I
right.
think I got pretty good luck with credit cards. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have how many now?
At this point, I have 29. I have one that I haven't shown yet.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that video to drop, and then you can hit 30, and then boom, have a whole
Yeah, I'm
party.
done
But
at 30.
you're done. That's it. No, I'm gonna go for way more than that. But we'll see. I try.
There you
I
go for
still
that 100. That 100.
100. Yeah, I want to hit the 100. That'll be a life goal.
I'll
Later.
stay at that 100 house when you get 100.
Okay,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Um, so I also want to know, like, your relationship to money when you kind of first got started. Was it talked about in your household at all, or were you the first person to kind of get a credit card? Like you said, you didn't know anybody except for your friend's mother. Like no one really spoke about it, huh?
No one spoke about it. We don't learn finances in school. I didn't know anyone talking about it. Like I said, I knew this many people who had a credit card personally, other than one of my good friends' mother.
Yeah.
And what put me on to authorized user was because I didn't know it as authorized user at that time,
Hmm.
but he was a user on her card,
Oh.
right? Right. He was a user on her card. And that's what made me think about authorized user that many years down the line.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, but as far as knowing about it myself and everything, I mean, that's why I screwed it up the first time. Yeah. And it
Yeah.
literally made me afraid of using credit. And it was all my own personal fault. But yeah, I wouldn't touch credit cards for so long. Like literally, once I got in with Capital One, I got two Capital One cards, and then I got the Discovery card. and I was literally out of the game. That was it. I didn't think about points and miles. I knew that the QuickSilver got me 1.5% cash back, and that's another reason I could only talk down about Capital One so much because they're the ones who made me realize the benefit of having credit cards.
Hmm.
Yeah, I started using that QuickSilver because I'm like, okay, I'm getting 1.5% back. If I don't use the card, then I'm not getting
Right.
1.5% back, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's what really got me into using the credit card for points and miles. So I still have to give that thanks to Capital One for that.
Gotcha. And was your relationship to money, like money itself, the same? Like kind of spend a lot?
Yeah, I've always been one of those you only live once type people. You
Really?
know, like I'm one of those people. If I want something, I'm going to get it. If I
Hmm.
can afford, let me take that back. I can't afford everything, but if
Right.
I can afford it and I want it, I'm going to get it. If I want to do something and I can afford it, I'm going to do it because I just believe that people should enjoy their life and not wait until they retire. And because we've seen that story up too many times, you
Yeah.
know, people wait till they retire and they still don't never get to enjoy their life. You don't know what your health is going to be like. You don't know what your life is going to be like. Live
Yeah.
your life while you can live it. And that's how I always feel.
Hmm. And yeah, that is something that, we've talked about in comment sections and stuff, and it's actually been a really common theme in a lot of these streams lately. Is even when I had Wandering Doc on last time, or when I speak to Chad sometimes, you know, earn and burn is what I've been hearing recently. Is earn your
Earn and
points,
burn.
and of course, this is just the credit card side, not just the life side. If I have money, I'm going to pay what I want. But yeah, just earning those points and using it for the travel instead of just hoarding it like myself. Um, you told me I need to get out of my house more, so I'll do that. But I got to start doing that. When did you adopt that mentality where it's like, hey, if I can afford it, I'm going to buy it. You only live once, and I'm going to do as much as I can now while I'm healthy and can enjoy it. Where did that come from?
I'll tell you a short little story because, like I tell you, I've always been this way.
Hmm,
When I got my driver's license at 17, right?
okay,
When I went to get my driver's license, I was in a rental car. I was on my way to Toronto, Canada.
my God.
If I got my driver's license or not, I was going to Toronto, Canada. I'm in this rental car. I've
Right.
always been this person, right?
Yeah.
I always liked experiences, and I was lucky to marry someone who is the same way as far as that goes. She loved experiences, and I've seen so many older people. They've been working all their life, and I got into that same thing. I'm working every day, but I
Yeah.
still try to enjoy myself. And they get to retire. They've been waiting for this 401k. They've been waiting for this pension. And what are they doing with their life? They sitting around doing whatever, and they spent these whole 30 years not enjoying their life, and they still don't because they're up in age and they don't want to do it anymore. So in my mind, I just made up to myself, I'm not gonna be that way. My kids, I have my kids do pretty much anything I can afford for them to do and things like
Hmm,
that. So because I don't want them to work for anyone. First thing, right? And I
yeah.
want them to enjoy their lives.
I see. Now, has that been like? Do you think that there are some ways where that mentality kind of hurts you? Where I guess, yeah, maybe you were racking up credit card debt because you were like, oh, I want to buy this thing now. Maybe not so worried about can I afford it now. It's like I can pay it off in the future. I'm living in the moment. Do you think that there are people out there that should kind of mitigate those feelings of like, if I want it, I got it? Or do you think it just made you who you are, and that's life has panned out how it should anyway?
Right. I think it's both things. I
Hmm.
think that my mentality when I was younger also got me into credit card debt, also had me do some of the things that I shouldn't have done,
Hmm.
but they also made me the person I am today. They also made me the person I am today, and the person that I talk about being, and the person that I try to present to everybody else. One thing that you're going to get when you get me is going to be 100% real, like
Yep.
100% real. So yeah.
Gotcha.
I
And
don't recommend my lifestyle to everybody. I just know.
Well, not everyone could be a G like you, so
Yeah,
it's
man,
like
life experiences, man. Life experiences.
right. Yes, exactly. So you told me, I don't know if you want to say it on camera, but you worked somewhere for a long time. I think 25 years in what industry?
23 years. Yes.
20, yeah.
I worked for I ran a grocery store. I'm gonna keep their name off of off of
Yeah.
YouTube and everything. But yeah, I ran a grocery store for 23 years. One day I came in and I'm in the place and one of my supervisors are there. And I'm gonna tell you exactly how it happened. One of my supervisors was there and they was talking about something that I didn't want to hear. And I mean, like I say, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I run a
Yeah.
great store, right? Some of my employees call me to this day, right now, right? I run a great store.
Hmm.
And I'm just thinking in my mind, like, I'm doing so many things for a rich person who could care less about me, right? This person, I'm trying to stop shoplifters. I'm looking for so many things that person they still probably wouldn't even do if they were in the building, right?
Hmm.
And they're telling me about something that going on in the store and that we need to do with this and do this. And believe it or not, at that very moment, I was taking off the keys to the store. I put the keys down on the desk. It wasn't my direct supervisor; it was just a supervisor.
Hmm.
Here's the funny thing. I had a I had a pair of headphones I would wear when I came in. I would take them off before the store opened.
Yeah.
I couldn't find my headphones, so I couldn't leave. So I'm walking around looking for my headphones.
Oh no.
Right. I find the headphones, go out to my car. I have a group chat with my assistant managers and my supervisors.
Hmm.
I text them before I text anybody else, let them know what was going on, told them I wasn't coming back. I text my boss and I told him that there was nothing personal against him, but I was quitting and don't reach out to me. And then I called my wife and that was it. Yeah,
Wow.
headed home. Yeah,
It
headed home,
was
man. Since that day, I just been hanging around doing whatever I want to do until I decide to get back into the game.
yeah. That's why I titled this "Meet the Man Who Quit His Job to Do
Yeah,
whatever he wants." And I, you
like
know,
literally.
yeah, and it sounds funny the title, but it's literally your life. How long ago was that? Can I ask?
That was about a year ago. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah, about a year ago. Yeah, I mean,
man.
like it's still fairly new. I mean, I'm getting up every day and I'm literally leaving out my house like 4 o'clock in the morning every day. I still
Wow.
get up early.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still get up early because I'm so used to I've been doing it for so long that my body just can't do anything else. But it feels good to be at home. It feels good to spend more time with my children.
Hmm.
My kids are grown at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about I'm working. I'm living to work. you know,
Yeah.
because everything's around working.
Hmm.
You want to get a vacation. What you got to do. You got to see if your job will let you off, or
Yeah.
maybe your job. Maybe you have a job where you can plan vacations, and that's fine. But guess what? You just still have to plan it around that job, right?
Yeah.
Every, your kid has soccer or football or whatever, you have to be the person. Either I'm not going to work, I got to schedule around it. Everything revolves around your job. And I
Yeah.
just don't think that's what life should be. And it took me 23 years to realize it. But now that I have, I wouldn't change anything the way I did. Yeah, I wouldn't change any of that. I would have done it sooner. Uh,
Gotcha. So you that's what I was gonna ask is like, now that you've been off for a year, yeah, would you have done it like 5, 10 years sooner?
I would have. I would have
Wow.
did it 10 years ago. If I thought about life the way that I do now,
Hmm.
I would have done it a long time ago.
Wow.
Uh, I mean,
That's
and I know everyone can't afford to do it. It's not like I'm rich. I don't live in a mansion or anything like that.
right.
But I get by. I mean, I get
Yeah.
by. I still go on trips. All you see, I put them on YouTube and everything. So,
Yep.
like I say, I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. But if you can just live your life right now, then do that, in my opinion.
Hmm. So you would recommend that? What do you say to the people who get really successful. Maybe some of these YouTubers we watch, and they say, listen, it's just hustle as hard as you can from 18 to 35, and this way you set yourself up for maybe your 30s and for beyond. And you can just work really hard these next 15, 20 years, and you could be set for the rest of your life. Or, do you agree with that? Or do you think it should just be like live how you want, if even if it's not the most uber successful, whatever you deem success as, wealth and stuff like that, but you prefer to live a life that's yours instead of, building someone else's dream, like you said, for your um your managers and higher ups.
Well, I think every case is different.
Mm,
I mean, if you could work from 18 to 35 and be successful and enjoy your life forever, that's great, right? But if you think realistically, how many people does that actually work out for? There are those, right?
yeah.
Like there are those that do it. They go grind every day for all this time. What if you get to 35 and something happens to you? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you still gonna be living, but will you be living the way that you want to live? All
Mm,
right. But I'm always gonna go back to I don't recommend the way that I live to everyone. It's just not for everyone.
gotcha.
But
What?
yeah, you have people that's going to work. I mean, you gonna have that person that invested in something and they're gonna be uber successful. You're gonna have that YouTuber that gets on and puts on something and they're gonna be uber successful.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're gonna have the majority of us.
Mm,
you know, that try to do those same things. And it may or may not work out for us. And you know what? A lot of times ends up happening. You just end up working until you retire. You in the same cycle as everybody else because that's the majority of the thing happens to most people.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Huh.
mean, yeah, but you know what? While you're that person that's grinding, you can still be looking for that idea that's go make you that money, so where you don't have to do anything.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at most successful people, they're not going to college, you know. And I'm not have nothing against college. My daughter's going to college. My son is probably going to go to college. But it's just something. I won't say it's luck, and it might be a combination of luck and hard work, especially if you don't have a background of already having money.
Yeah. Huh. So, I personally, I see a lot of these conversations having, and I find that this is something that is really big. And I feel like we'll start seeing it a lot between a lot of credit card, not credit, but just YouTubers in general. But it seems like even since 2020, where people started feeling the freedom, once lockdowns are happening, and they said, "Oh, I have a choice to move to different states that maybe are a little more free, whatever you deem that as being." And maybe I can work from home and make money from there, and maybe I can move to a state that has no income tax, something like that. So you're saving a lot of money. So it's almost like we got this air of freedom, but now I feel it. I'm feeling a shift of people wanting to start their own businesses, maybe start their YouTube channels like us, and wanting to you know forget just the 9 to 5, which people have talked about for a while, but it feels more potent now. um, do you feel that as well? That it's kind of just a general idea that's kind of floating right now, that people want to do what you're saying and just kind of forget the job and let me explore the world and do what I want to do simultaneously. It means working hard, but also you do what you want to do, right? Do you feel like that's a shift now?
I absolutely feel like that. I think it's more in the air. I think the internet has introduced us to a whole nother world of everything,
Yeah.
right? Of everything. And we're seeing and hearing more things than we ever heard before. And yeah, I think that is in the air. But the thing about it is it's scary to jump into the unknown. It is. It's easy. Like I say, I ran a grocery store for 23 years. It was easy to me, right?
Yeah.
Leaving it may not have been easy. It's not like it was the first time I thought about doing it.
Yeah.
It wasn't the first time I thought about doing it, but it's
Mhm.
scary to leave a position or anything that you're comfortable with. You know
Hmm.
that you're good at doing this, why leave it when it's guaranteed for you? You
Yeah.
know, um, but I think right now, if any other time, I think it's a time where, yeah, the economy may not be where everybody wants it to be, but I think now more than ever is a time where, you can kind of, technology is bringing us to a place where if you want to do something, why not right now? The hardest thing to do is get started. You know? How long was I talking about doing this YouTube channel before I actually did it? The
Right.
hardest thing
Yeah.
was getting started. Once I got
Hmm.
started, then I was started. And I think that's what pretty much for anything with anything.
Right. Yeah. And everyone has to, get pushed in a certain way. So
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you've said you've been planning it for a while, but now you actually have the freedom to do it. You
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
Another thing that's bit interesting to me personally is every time I do hear these conversations, um, nobody ever really talks about, I guess, the implications of it, and all the surrounding information. Like in my mind, I'm like, well, how much money would I need to be able to do that? Do what you did and kind of like, let me get rid of my 9 to 5 and be covered enough, have enough of a safety net that I can go and start my own thing. So this way, I guess I have a bit of a safety net, yeah, in case things go wrong. Um, and there's just so many conflicting factors with people. You have kids, you have a house, all this overhead. But I'm just trying to think for most people, you know, is there a certain number that we have to look out for to be able to start this, or is this something that hopefully we knew this in the past? Like maybe we were 18 watching this podcast now, and we're like, man, you're right. I'm living at my parents' house. I really don't have overhead. And maybe I can get started on some side hustle that can grow into a career, and I never have to work a job. You know, and I guess what I'm saying is, should we be looking towards a number, or should we be looking towards to maybe cut back on things? Are we overspending as a population? You think?
Yeah, of course. Of
Right.
course, we don't spend on the population. I
Yeah.
mean, we might go out today and get that $5 cup of coffee. Did we need
Yep.
that cup of coffee, or did we just want it?
Right.
I'm, I'm,
Right.
I'm used to drinking 2 cups of coffee. Could I drink none? Absolutely. Right?
Yeah.
If I needed to do it, and as far as a number, I'm not really sure, but like I say, it's case by case.
Yeah.
I look at everything as case by case. What do you need to survive? You know,
Yeah.
I know that I have a mortgage. I know that I have a car note. I know that I have these kids that still live with me.
Yeah.
And I know that I don't want to be somebody that's just stuck in the house doing nothing, or I still want to enjoy my life. And my
Right.
me enjoying my life is traveling and going places and doing, anything that I've never done before, right?
Yeah.
So you can't do that without having some type of money.
Yeah.
And like I say, I don't know what a number would be in every individual case. I just look at my own self, and I just said to myself, can I stay home and still live the same life that I live without changing to the point where it's hurting us financially?
Yeah.
And I believe it or not, when I was taking off my keys in that office, I was thinking about all of this,
Mm.
right? Because I'm not going to put a radical decision in place that's going to hurt my family or my lifestyle. Because, well, I can leave my lifestyle out of it.
Right.
That's going to hurt my family,
Yeah.
you know, because of the way I'm feeling emotionally at that time.
Mhm.
I'm not going to let a temporary feeling lead to a permanent decision.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So it all depends on that person and how they live and how they want to live, to where what they feel comfortable with. You can go out and drive Uber. Somebody can go out and drive Uber and maybe make enough to, they
Yeah.
still making their own hours, do
Mhm.
DoorDash, whatever, and still be able to live the way they want to live.
Yeah.
So it's all the individual cases.
Yeah. And I think I see that with a lot of people, and that's honestly great. Like, kind of your, how individualistic it is. But I think we do see a lot of people that, yeah, you probably could cut back on a lot of different things. Like, I think reworking your life is really the idea. Creating a master plan for your life. It's some people will say, okay, so the saving the $5 on a Starbucks is obviously not going to make you a millionaire.
Right.
But what it does do is it kind of reformats your life to think like, hey, well, that $5 compounded, I guess, how many am I buying every single day, every single month? Could that just be like part of my car payment? Could that just be a full car payment completely covered every single month? So I like that because you get to cut away a lot of the fat and maybe really see what do you really care about in life, and that base level is important because then from there you can decide what do I want to do. For me personally, something I've really been thinking about a lot lately, and having conversations with my fiance is like, do we really even want to buy a house? Like, I'm in a situation where I moved from New York, and I worked for, I guess, straight 11 years, 14 to 25. And then, whether it's paper route, stop and shop, cart pushing, and driving teacher and manager and all that stuff, constantly just doing something. Now, this is the first time where it's like, boom, I landed in South Carolina. There's no stable job.
Oh,
I didn't go out and get a stable job. I said, you know what? I'm going to do YouTube and be a real estate agent. And that's what I did. And now I don't have, literally, and I'm staying with my fiance's parents. So I have that luxury. So I'm like, before we jump into the world where like, oh, maybe because we could buy a house if we want, but do we really want to? Or should we just live a life of no mortgage payment where that's, $2,000 every single month, and we can just spend maybe a portion of that and live abroad and just keep building the online profiles, and because she works as a freelancer online too, can we just do this simultaneously and never actually take on the burden of all this debt? It's something I'm just thinking about recently, and I think there's a world where that makes sense, where I think a lot of people will say I have to do what's common in the world. I have to even get the kids, pretty early, which I do want a lot of kids as well. Um, but there's something to be said to jumping into it and jumping into a house payment, a car payment, like a lot of the things you don't really need unless you were forced into it, like kicked out of the house or something. So that's just my long tangent. Um, does that make sense in your mind?
makes absolute sense. I mean, I probably wouldn't even have a car note, but where I was working, I'm driving here
Yeah.
45 minutes, maybe even sometimes an hour and a half back home. Now, another thing, you know, as a manager, you're required 10 hours shifts a day, right?
Hmm.
I'm going back to living to work,
Yeah.
right? I'm required to work 10 hours a day. Of course, I'm the manager of the store. I can
Yeah.
alter schedules and move things around, work when I want to work, shifts I want to work. But to the company, I'm required to work 10 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
50 hours a week. I'm driving pretty much maybe 45, 50 minutes there, an hour to an hour and a half back. You think about it, that is almost what 13 hours of your day right there.
Yeah.
5 hours, 5 days a week, right? So the little bit of time after that you're trying to spend with your family. When do you sleep?
Yeah.
Right? And like I did it for 23 years, man.
Yeah.
23 years. Yeah, probably 10 years longer than I should have. I probably look a lot younger if I had quit 10 years ago. But
Yeah. Then you would look
yeah.
15
Yeah.
because you look young yourself already. Um, yeah, I just think a lot of people get trapped in it, and it,
Yeah, absolutely.
I get it, I get it. There's, I don't know. I just think that there's a world out there that leads you to think you need all those things, but if you really think about it, just the standard level. I think about everything with the numbers. I'm like, man, I could probably go to Italy and find a nice cheap Airbnb for 600 a month. And it's like, but what's the goal in life? Is the goal to amass a certain amount of money and then go, and travel, or should you just live while you're traveling and build some things online? And this is not, you don't have to be a YouTuber. My fiance works on Fiverr. She's a writer, and she started by a recommendation of me, and she did it, and she's built up the business to where we can move and do stuff like that. Um, you can, anything that you possibly are good at. Everyone's good at something. You can teach that online and build a whole business. So it's like, I don't know. I just have this in my mind lately. Like, what's the end goal anyway? If the end goal is to just like travel and have experiences like you like to do, why not just do it now and just build what you're trying to do on the side? You could live pretty cheaply in other countries if you want, or even just go to in South Carolina, I could find you, you know, a cheap Airbnb. You know, I don't know. It's
I listen. I 100% agree with that. Like, I'll tell you a little story. Like I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, right?
hmm,
The same store that I ran for 23 years. I started off as an assistant manager in Cleveland, Ohio,
hmm,
and I wanted to move somewhere south, right, at the time because I was just tired of snow, right? I was just absolutely done with snow.
hmm,
So the store manager at this location, I'm talking. We pretty cool. We talk about different things or whatever. And I'm like, man, I want to move to Virginia because I didn't want to go too south,
hmm.
because I wasn't familiar with anything. I don't know anyone there. I'm like, Virginia's south enough.
Right.
And he looked at me and he like, Dante, what are you waiting for? And man, that mentality just stuck with me forever because what was I waiting for? You know, I'm talking about it and not being about it.
Yeah.
And literally after that moment, I uh I went down to actually I went to Baltimore because the store I was working for, they had an office in Baltimore.
Oh.
I talked to the guy who was the head of the division there, and after we finished talking, he asked me when could I be there, and I told you I'm one of those people that I just do things. I came back, I told my wife about it. I'm like, I want to move to Virginia. She's like, okay. 3 months we lived. 3 months later, we lived in Virginia. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. 3 months later, we moved to Virginia.
That's
Uh,
crazy. Huh. And that, that kind of brings me to another point that you kind of mentioned earlier, which was you said that you really love traveling experiences, and you were lucky to find someone who also loves doing what you love doing. Um, and I understand your wife and yourself have been together for a pretty long time, right?
oh yeah, yeah. We've been married for 20. It'll be
6,
24 years this year.
24. Okay,
Yeah,
since
it'll be
'99, right?
24 years. Yep, since '99. Yeah.
Any for the people out there, I guess in those worlds where we're kind of talking about maybe making the move and traveling or building up your businesses, any advice towards the relationship side of things, at least personal and I guess financial,
Yeah.
any.
Personal, man, is compromise the communication, man.
Hmm,
You don't get to 24 years without compromising communication. You
yeah.
know, understand that there's no perfect person,
Hmm,
right? There's no perfect relationship. There's no perfect people. People are going to make mistakes. You and your spouse or fiance or girlfriend, you guys were raised differently, right? You might squeeze the toothpaste from the middle. That might irritate the other person, right? It's all about compromise and communication. And if you're a young guy, man, listen, if to have a successful relationship, I'm not a relationship counselor, just like I'm not a financial advisor,
right.
but don't hold anything in. If anything bothers you, let that be known and also let her know the same thing,
Hmm,
right? Because behaviors don't change if you don't know something's wrong,
hmm,
right?
yeah.
Like you're not going to change anything if you don't know that's bothering the other person, right?
True. Yeah.
Because why would you? Uh,
Hmm.
and as far as finance, you have to look at it's one of those things of what is your standard and what do you accept? I know my
Hmm.
wife like to spend a lot of money, right? Me and her are totally different. I'm the more responsible. She'll look at this video and she's not gonna complain about it at all. She know
Right.
I'm the more responsible person with money, right?
Right.
And I know that she spend money on frivolous stuff,
Hmm.
but I accept that, right?
Hmm.
I accept that because that's how she came into relationships. So why
Hmm.
would I want her to change going out?
Hmm.
Uh, Somebody you might want somebody who you might not be the person that's good with the finances, or maybe
Yeah.
you want somebody who both of y'all. It's just all about what you accept and what you want out of it.
Yeah. Huh. That's I think one of the best take homes I think for my fiance and I have been together 5 years. And that's what you just said. I think would solve actually like most of the relationship problems in the world. Because what you're essentially saying is the person, I mean, people don't usually change that much over their lifetime unless they have some life threatening thing happen to them, or
Right.
it's whatever happens. But usually people are pretty similar. So when you meet them and you decide to start dating them and then eventually go further, you are accepting who they are as a person. And if there are any, I guess, red flags would be something that you don't resonate with, you don't jive with, you don't like that they spend a lot, or they don't do enough, they don't go out enough. That's something that you either accept or you don't, and you have
Right.
to be aware of that at the beginning of the relationship. So I think that's pretty powerful. It's
Yeah.
just that
I
alone.
mean, it just is. Either I mean, the signs are always there, right?
Yeah.
We might not want to see them.
Hmm.
They're always going to be there. It's just
Yeah.
whether that you can deal with it or you want to deal with it. That's it.
Hmm. And over the years, has there been some tough times where you were like, did you ever have to like second guess yourself at all?
You know what? I never second guess myself, but yeah, man, there was many tough times. Like
Yeah.
we've been married for 20, almost 24 years.
All right.
Like we gonna have serious disagreements. I won't say fights or nothing like that,
Yeah.
but we've had serious disagreements. You know what I mean? Like we look at things totally different. But
Hmm.
the thing with us is we always talk about things. And
Hmm.
although if, say for instance, it's something that she doesn't like, right? And we have
Hmm.
an argument about it. She told it to me and I heard it. Whether I agree with it in that moment or not, I still heard it, right?
Hmm.
And later on after, because when you're in an argument, you're right. It don't
Right.
matter what it is.
Right.
You're right because that's why you're arguing, right? But later on, after you think about it, maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's something you could have adjusted, right? Or maybe you were right,
Hmm.
right? Maybe you were right. Maybe your fiance heard the same thing because guess what? She's also hearing it, right?
Hmm.
And that's how you guys are either going to grow strong together or you're not meant for each other. You know,
Hmm.
yeah. Everybody we date and everything, we're not. I mean, we just not meant for everyone.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's up to what you accept and what you can live with. We're not perfect. I know I'm not perfect. I make all kind of mistakes. I make mistakes every day. I'm sure. And I'm sure
Right.
it's a lot of things that she don't like that I do, and I continue to do. You
Right.
know, but it's nothing. It's never gonna be nothing malicious
Yeah.
or nothing that I'm doing intentionally. So,
Hmm.
uh, but
Definitely.
communication, man, communication. That's it. You will hear that from your grandparents, your parents, your anybody that can tell you it's true. Like it is
Yeah.
absolutely true.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's crazy how different you feel when you do express those, whatever you're feeling at that moment. Whether you're confiding in someone and you feel better, or yeah, in the heat of the argument, you really do. The ego comes out, and you're like, yes, I'm absolutely right. I
Right.
don't even care what
Wait,
you
right.
say.
Yeah.
but
Always
but
right. In the moment, you're right.
right.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed too, and I've learned to, I've made a lot of mistakes in the past, which same thing, just the ego comes out, and I try to be right about something, and if I'm right, then I win. But I've learned that obviously you never win, and and the better approach is to kind of, of course, your emotions are always going to be wrapped up into it. But now lately, if we ever, and the same thing, we never argue, but there are some disagreements. um, and I've heard this, and we've done this before, but I've heard some people talk about, is actually to just kind of end the situation as quickly as possible, go into separate rooms and actually text. I find with texting, whenever we did that, we were always able to make up much, much quicker. And I'm able to reformulate, because then you have to think about what you're going to say before you actually hit send.
Yeah.
And I think that actually, it's different for different generations, but I think for this generation, and anybody using phones, I think it's probably a powerful thing that people could do to limit the amount of disagreements. Just kind of like, all right, let's just walk away for a moment, send some text. This way you can organize your thoughts, and then usually come out a lot simpler. You know.
See, I never thought about that, but that's not a bad idea. Yeah, that's not a bad idea because, like you say, when you send a text, it's deliberate and you think about it before you actually do it. You can always change it, right?
Right, like as if you're
You can,
right. If you say "f you" and
right?
screw
Oh,
you,
you
and you
meant
hit send,
it. Yeah, you absolutely meant it.
right,
But you can go back and erase it before you send it.
right, yeah, exactly. That's so funny. Oh lord, oh god, this is great. Texting is dangerous, MR says. They're way too descriptive and they end up
Oh, it
offending
can be
folks.
dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It can be. I guess you have. Yeah. I guess I should think about that as well. You know. So how does kind of shifting a little bit? How does as far as like traveling and whatnot? Just because I'll probably have to go in about 20 minutes to pick her up and stuff. And I know you have your, whole party going on downstairs.
Yeah,
And I already know we're gonna have to probably do another, like the second one, if you'll be open to it. But
yeah.
um, getting into a little bit of like traveling with all of your points and whatnot. I'd love to hear kind of what trips you've done with all of your points.
Oh, well, let me see. Domestic is too many to count.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Domestic is too many to count. And the only international place I've been with points is St. Lucia. Yeah, it's the only
Hmm.
place I've been with points internationally. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I use MR points and I use Hilton points for that
Hmm.
trip. So, yeah, that's how
Gotcha.
I end up getting the business class flight on American.
Hmm.
But I went through British. Yeah, I went through British Airways.
Oh.
Went through British Airways and used British Airways. I believe it's Avios to book
Hmm.
through American.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's what I learned about because I was going to get a different seat. I actually ended up getting a better seat. I was going to get a different seat, but
Yeah.
that was the thing. It took a second for the points to transfer over, and that's what I try to tell people.
Hmm.
You got to give it that time. Someone got the seat that I originally was trying to get. Yeah,
Oh.
in the amount of time that it took for the points to transfer over, and that's a good reason to try to get your tickets as far in advance as you could. Uh, and what happened on that trip was my wife and my wife couldn't get off work.
Hmm.
My daughter couldn't get out of school. I was turning 50. I was going. I was flying on a business class trip somewhere out of here. And my son was in school, but he graduated next week. So he just took off a week and it was just me and him. And it was a great experience because I got to spend that whole week with just my son. It's the
Hmm.
first time in all of these years that we've done that much time just alone, just me and him. So yeah,
Hmm.
that was great. But as far as domestic trips, I mean, just this year alone, I've been to New York. I had to go to Cleveland, unfortunately, for that was for a funeral
Right.
twice, actually, two straight weeks. But those was all points.
Hmm.
We went to Vegas for one of my good friends' birthday.
Hmm.
We went to Houston, and yeah, I mean, this is what's that, 5 trips this year already, and yeah, all of points, and I didn't pay anything for these trips but taxes. So,
Wow. That's
uh,
that's awesome. And you never been anywhere outside of the country other than St. Lucia?
yeah, I've been to. I went to Italy.
Hmm.
I got married in the Bahamas.
Oh.
Let me see where I've been. I've been to Canada. I don't know too many times to count. I've probably been to Canada over 20 times.
Wow.
Different parts of Canada. But at that time, I was living in Cleveland, and I could just drive there. Yeah, literally, Toronto was 5 hours, and if I wanted to go to Windsor, Canada, we would go to Detroit and just go over the bridge to Canada.
Mm.
Yeah. Wasn't I was talking to Calby, and I was just telling him, going across the border there as far as like global entry and all. I didn't know anything about global entry, but
Yeah.
yeah, they're not stopping you if you fly in. Because I've flown to Canada,
Oh.
you go through customs. They ask you all of these questions. You
Hmm.
drive through there. They will ask you if you declare anything. You say no. You just keep going about your business. They don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't even stop. You're not gonna be at that stop for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
he mentioned that just driving to the checkpoint, they say, "What are you doing here? When are you leaving?" "All right, see you
right.
later."
Are you taking anything? Yeah, bring anything, taking anything like that. Yeah, like you're literally at that checkpoint for 2 minutes if you drive through. But if you
Hmm.
fly, on the other hand, it's a whole nother story.
Good to know. I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
I used to have a friend that worked for Bad Boy Records, and
Oh,
yeah, when the Toronto Raptors used to play in the Sky Dome,
wow.
he got us tickets to over there. So yeah, that was the only time I actually flew there. Yeah, and it was a lot different flying than it was driving through that across the border.
Yeah. Man, Bad Boy Records.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
wow. That's pretty.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was actually pretty awesome, though. So we're in the lodge. We could have just stayed in the lodge if we wanted to, but we were able to go backstage and pretty much. I mean, I could literally touch the stage. I'm that close to it. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's crazy. And guys, for the last, I would say maybe around 10 minutes, give me some questions for Sledge. Like CJ just had a comment coming in. He said, "Can Sledge share the details about the executive suite he got in Orlando? I forgot the name of the hotel."
Ritz Carlton.
Ah.
Ritz Carlton. Okay, so this is a little secret that Anthony know about. Every single time I go anywhere, it's either my birthday, my anniversary, or something very special. And what you do is in the when you book through the app, when it gets close to the date, they're going to give you an option to message the property. Tell them that whatever the special occasion is, and request an upgrade.
Hmm.
They're going to say yes unless that property is 100% completely sold out. They
Hmm.
are going to say yes. They may give you champagne, they may give you chocolates. They're probably going to give you something extra. When you get to the property, tell them again you want that upgrade. That's the that's the only one I ever captured on camera because, like I say, before I wasn't at the points of mile game. Before that, yeah, I've had king. I mean, I've had not a presidential suite. I had executive suite,
Hmm.
junior executive suites, and yeah, that room was still the biggest I've ever had. That room was all. I think it was 998 square feet. It's almost 1,000 square foot room. Yeah.
Wow.
I've had 800 and something square foot room, but it all starts with the messaging. It always starts with the messaging.
That is so funny. It's always my birthday or my anniversary.
It's always my birthday. I don't care how many anniversaries, how many birthdays you have. They do not communicate with each other.
Right. Yeah. That's I man, now I'm gonna sound like a broken record because I've been bringing this up on a few streams, but maybe you've heard this too. Maybe you're even in that stream. But I met a guy recently who used to work for one of like the fanciest hotels in Colorado. One that was actually star rated, so like a Forbes or something like that. They actually have a rating, so inspectors come by and they check out the hotel and then they give it a rating. So that's how high class it is. He told me that for any hotel that's rated like that, you book all the amenities. You make a reservation for all the amenities, just spa, restaurant, whatever they have on site. Book all of them because what happens is when they come, they said they automatically because he worked there. We had to like check off their name as a possible inspector from Forbes or something, and this way everything would get comped. Like the spa was comped, the restaurant was comped. He said, book it anyway, just even if you don't use it, just book it so this way you get that. He says you will have the best experience you've ever had. Things will be comped for you wouldn't even realize. Um, is that something everything you've heard about, or maybe would try?
I've never heard about it, but I'm definitely gonna try it.
Right.
I'm definitely gonna try it. My wife has been to Michelin star restaurants and
Yeah.
that type of thing. So she would love something like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I just want the space. I just like the room to have the space.
Mhm.
I like to have almost like an entire living room and to do whatever I want to do in this hotel or whatever. Even if I'm doing nothing,
Right.
it's just the thing, the point of having the thing. So yeah, I'll definitely try that.
Yeah. I was gonna try it too. We gotta see. Is there anything
Why
that
not?
right? Is there anything that you wanted to kind of share with everybody?
Before we go, yeah, I just want to tell everybody live now. You know, live now, man. We live one time. We talk a lot about the points and miles and points that we've accumulated and we saving for this and that is absolutely great. But in the meantime, even if you paying cash for it and you saving your points for this big event, do something for yourself. Do
Mm.
something for your wife. Do something for your kids. You know what I mean? Because it's experiences. We go and buy things. We forget about those things. But you know what we don't forget? We don't forget experiences, right? So we do. I'm not gonna say we. I bought a lot of worthless things, right? I used to be in the designer clothes and all this other stuff. So happy,
Mm.
so much money I spent on those things, and guess what? I don't even remember that stuff, right? But I do remember if I just went from here to New York, right? If I just went from here to somewhere else in Florida, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. Your kids and your spouse will remember that for the rest of your life. So the only thing I can tell you right now is just live right now.
That's amazing, man. That's a great message to go out on. And it was actually like the main theme of this whole podcast. So that like Tito said, you're dropping diamonds there. So that's that's, that's powerful. And I see some people saying we should do a group ghost tour at the Mills house, and I think we should.
Hey, let's do it, man. Let's do something with our group.
Yeah, that would be fun. But man, this was a lot of fun for me. I think for a lot of people too. I really do want to do a part two because I feel like we just barely scratched the surface, and I gained some insights. Um, so really, thank you so much for doing this, man, and I appreciate you.
Hey, I appreciate you having me, man. I appreciate everybody that came in and watched.
Definitely. And go subscribe. It's in the pinned chat. If you look at the top, it's in blue. Sledge's channel. If you're not already subscribed, I think everybody's subscribed, but go and subscribe if you can. And yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. This is a lot of fun.
Do your research.
Hey, wait, we got to do your ending call sign. What are you doing? It,
Hey, look, the separation is in the preparation, man. Do your research. Salute.
Salute. See you guys later.